Hello everyone, my name is Miss Newton and today I'll be working with you on solving an interquartile range problem. So often with IQR you are given a data set of numbers, and throughout the series of manipulating these numbers you find out different values and how it works within the interquartile range chart. So prior to starting the problem, I will always set myself up for success by organizing my information. So when you're given an IQR problem, it's really helpful to create your data chart, or your, in other words, just an area to collect information. So when you solve for IQR, you will always find the following bits of information. So prior to starting the problem, I always write this data set in the margin of my paper. So you'll be finding the lower extreme, which is the lowest number in your data set, the upper extreme, which is the greatest number in your data set, the lower quartile, which will come after we've manipulated the lower half of the information, the upper quartile, which is the upper half of the data set after the median, and the median, which is the middle number. In addition to these bits, you will also be finding the range, which is the difference between the greatest and the smallest number in the data set, and the IQR. Now, something to know about the IQR is the greater the IQR, the greater the variability of your data. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit after I create my chart. So the first step when you're looking at an IQR problem is take note of the order of the numbers. In this example, the order of the numbers is out of order, and most likely most of the problems that you're given will be in this manner. So I will start by just putting my numbers in order and crossing out as I go. So my smallest number is 3. I have 4. Looks like I have an 8, 10, another 10, and a 12. Now notice, as I was working, I missed a number, 6. So that's very easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just plug 6 in right here into my data set. I just squeeze it in, okay? And I cannot stress this step enough. It is so important that once you've put the numbers in order, you make sure that you've counted the amount of numbers that you've rewritten, because if you miss a number, it will skew the rest of your data, and all that hard work will unfortunately be useless. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know now I've rewritten every single number in this data set. So the first thing that's a bit more obvious for us to identify is the lower extreme. The lower extreme is the lowest number in the data set, so it's the smallest number. So my lower extreme is 3. In addition to that, the other number that you can see on the data set is the upper extreme. The upper extreme is the largest number in the data set. So I'll be putting a box around that, and I'll be plugging it in here in the upper extreme area. Once you put your numbers in order from least to greatest, it's really easy to find the lower extreme and the upper extreme, so I automatically go ahead and plug that into my data set. Now it's time to find the median, and the way that we do that is we basically cross out from both sides of the data set. So from smallest to greatest, I keep crossing, and if you notice, I have fallen into 2 numbers in the middle of my data set, okay? There can never be 2 medians in IQR. There's always 1. So what do you do when you have 2 numbers as a median? Well, what I will do is, in this case, the number between 6 and 8 would be 7, but sometimes it's not as obvious. So go ahead and take your calculator, and you're going to add 6 plus 8, which gives you 14, and then you divide by 2. So the number in between 6 and 8 will be 7. So what I do is, visually, I draw a bar in between 6 and 8, and I write the number 7. And that will help me identify my median as 7. So once I've done that, I go into my chart, and my median is 7. That's the middle number. Now it's time to find the lower quartile. You're going to be looking at all the numbers to the left of the median, okay? The numbers that are less than the median. And it helps you to remember lower quartile, lower than your median. So I am not including the number 7 into my median, so I'll be looking at numbers 3 through 6. And again, I play the cross-out game. I'm going to use a different color to help you so it's a bit more visual. So I cross out my 3, I cross out my 6. And again, I have 2 numbers in my lower quartile. So I'll do the same thing. In this case, both of the numbers are 4, so I know that my lower quartile is 4. But if they were 2 different numbers and it was hard for you to decide what the median of the lower quartile is, you would take the same steps. You would add the 2 numbers. You could do 4 plus 4 and then divide by 2. Okay? So in this case, my lower quartile is 4, so I'm going to plug it into my chart. And I'm going to take the same steps now to find my upper quartile, which are the numbers that are greater than my median. So that will be the numbers between 8 and 12. So again, I do the cross-out game, 8 and 12, and I'm left with 2 numbers in my upper quartile. And in this case, again, they are the same number, which just happens to be coincidence. So I know that my upper quartile is going to be 10. So I go ahead and plug this into my data table. So now, once you've identified the lower and upper quartile, much of the work that you have to do afterwards is pretty self-explanatory. So when you're looking at range, it's just going to be your greatest number subtracted from your smallest number. So for your range, if it was a bit more difficult, you could use your calculator, but in this case, it's just 12 minus 3. It's greatest subtracted from the smallest. So 12 minus 3 is 9, so your range is 9. And finally, to find your IQR, you subtract your upper quartile from your lower quartile. So your upper quartile is 10 and your lower quartile is 4. So when you subtract the 2, you end up with the number 6. So my IQR in this given problem is 6. If your IQR is a large number, that means you have a greater amount of variability in the problem. And if your IQR is smaller, that means that the data was not that varied, so therefore the information collected did not have that much of a difference across the chart. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to see me in class or Miss Almeida, but please feel free to re-watch this video, and if need be, write down these numbers and give it a try on your own and see how you do. Okay, good luck. Thank you.